Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. And if you have thought about buying a lakefront property on your next real estate transaction, you're listening to the right place, because that's all we're talking about today is lakefront property. In this segment, we are specifically talking about what to look for in lakefront property and what affects the price of lakefront property. So it's exciting. We got a lot going on here. I know a lot of consumers look at buying lakefront property as their second home to have fun and recreation during the summer for their families. But a lot of people choose to live on the lake as well. We've got so many lakes around. We've got Lake Livingston, Lake Houston, Lake Conroe. We've got a lot of lakes. Even down south, you've got Clear Lake, and then even farther off towards Brenham, you've got like Somerville. So there's so many places, and all of these lakes have so much mixed use on them. Some of them have obviously a lot of recreational stuff. You have RV parks and other types of parks, and then you've got some of your restaurants and other economic development going on, and then some of them have national forests, and they're all different sizes. They have different feel to them and the communities around them. So, it's just exciting to live around a lake, a lot to do. I know Keith here in the studio with me is a fisherman, so he's really excited about lakefront property, right, Keith?
That's right. Yeah, also make sure you wear your sunscreen. I didn't put mine on this week.
Yeah, sunscreen. Yeah, I'm a blonde, so, sunscreen is very, very important. All right, we are in the RREA.com studio. Keith Hebert with RREA. He's a broker over here at Register Real Estate Advisors. And I've also got Chris on the line, and Chris is calling in. All right, welcome to the show, guys. We have been talking. Hey, Chris. We have been talking. First segment, we talked a lot about Lake Houston. Next segment, we talked about Lake Livingston. And this segment, I want to talk a little bit about Lake Conroe and also what people need to be aware of when they're buying a home. Keith, I'm going to let you lead with that.
Well, I think people either when they're looking at home, it might be morning people. They want to get that morning sunrise or that sunset. So I think that's really important to position yourself as to whether you like the sunrise, watch the sunrise come over the lake or sunset over the lake. So I think that's a big factor. Also, when you're at your bulkhead, how deep is the water right there?
Yeah.
For your boat, what type of boat you can put in there. I think that's another important factor. And whether you're in a cove or a canal with access to the lake really will depend on how much you're going to pay for your lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Chris, what do you say about it?
I agree. It kind of depends on, with regard to pricing, you need to look at, of course, what side of the lake you're on and whether you're open water or in a cove or a canal. Another reason to take a look at that, too, is maintenance. I've actually experienced both open water and, canal living, and it's a whole different world, even though both are waterfront. It's not just about price. It's about, maintenance and how quiet it is and how rough the water is and that type of stuff. So, that's taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, and, when you normally look for a house, you look at the floor plan of the house, you look at the school districts, you look at the community. But when you look for a lakefront property, now you've added a whole nother element because you've got to look at your position on the lake, how the sun is going to affect you. There's a lot more to take into consideration. Now you've got a view issue, and I think that's one of the reasons that it takes sometimes, not always, but sometimes it takes longer to sell a house on the lake or to sell a lot on the lake because it just adds another layer of factors. Do you agree with that, Chris?
No, absolutely. And everybody's got their individual, hot buttons, if you will, and what's important to them about that lot. So what may be just a gem to one guy is absolutely not a good fit for the other. So.
Right. Yeah, and some of these communities on Lake Conroe, especially, you've got Walden, you've got Bentwater, you've got a lot of different communities up there that have golf, where golf is really big. And so now you've got, are you going to have a lake view? Are you going to have a golf course view? Are you going to have both? Are you going to be on the island? Are you going to have lake? Are you going to be able to see the lake from the front side of the house and the back side of the house, or just the back side of the house? So you've got a lot of things to think about when you're looking at lakefront property. And like you said, do you want to be on the main part of the water or in a cove? If you're in a cove, you're mostly looking out at fishermen every morning. If you're on the main body of the lake, you're looking at a lot of wave runners going by. So and then you've got your pets. You got to take into consideration how that's going to affect your pets and your kids and the safety of your kids. So there's so many things to think about. And maintenance is huge. Maintenance is huge.
Yeah, the open water is going to be more rough and more abusive, to your bulkheading versus more quiet area. So
right,
a lot of that kind of stuff to take into account.
And your neighbors, if it's an area where there's a lot of people who use it as a lake house, and they're only there on the weekends, then that's why I think that when you buy lakefront property, you really need to go out in a boat and see it from the boat perspective as well as the land perspective, because you can usually tell whether it's someone who lives there year round, or they're only there in the summer, or they're only there on the weekends, and that's going to affect how quiet it is on the weekends and how consistent it is living there.
Right.
From week to week.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go on a boat tour, let me know.
You're going to facilitate them on that? All right. I like Lake Conroe because it does. I mean, you can just jet on over there to go out to eat on the lake. I love that. And you can, it's great recreation lake, but it's also very congested. And like we were talking about earlier, Lake Livingston is not as congested. It's a bigger lake. So, but getting back to price, one of the things that I think that people who've never bought a lake house need to be aware of is that you're also looking at the type of land that you have. Does it go out to a point in the water? Is it a very straight edge where all of your neighbors have a consistent view? And what is your view? Because that view can increase your price. Your view of the lake can increase the price. Is there a tree or is there a dock or something getting in the way? What is it you're looking at when you look out? I know that you can have a bunch of houses in the same neighborhood that are built about the same, but you can have drastically different prices depending on what the view is when you look out, your back windows to the lake. And that view can be obstructed by different things, even besides trees. I mean, it can be obstructed by different things. If you're a little more in than your neighbors are, and you're looking out and you see a lot of your neighbor and then lake, you're going to have a probably a little bit cheaper property than if you're the one out there on the point. So a lot of things to take into consideration, a lot of things that affect price when you get to the lake. I know, Chris, you had a lot up on the lake, and it took a while to sell that lot. What do you think makes lots, and I know I have one listed up on Lake Conroe right now, what do you think is the selling factor for lots that don't have homes on them?
Season is definitely going to be one. You mentioned earlier that we need to be thinking about it year round, but you might have a lot that's listed all year long, and fall and winter, and it's just stagnant. You don't get a single phone call, and get that first heat wave and some nice spring weather coming out there, and then the phones start ringing. Yeah, and you start getting a lot of activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the improvements in the neighborhood. Is it already bulkheaded? Boathouses with your other neighbors, or the neighbors who are already established. Do they have their boathouses in place already, or do you have to worry about somebody constructing something and blocking your view after you're in place? And there's things like that to take into consideration with an undeveloped waterfront property.
Sure. And gated communities versus non-gated. You don't have a lot of master plan communities on the lake. That's just something that's you're not gonna find up there. But there's some, but there's not a whole lot. And so you have to decide what kind of community you want to live on the lake. It's really important to think about. A lot of different lifestyles up there.
Yeah, you get a lot more traffic, weekender traffic, people coming in looking for a place to fish and hang out by the water and that kind of stuff in a non-gated community, and you can definitely tell the difference in the lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know you spend a lot of time out on the water, Keith. When you're showing properties from the lake, what's important to look for from that vantage point?
Well, I think, you want to look at, how the windows are, and your access from the back of your house. If you're looking from the back of your house, how does that really appear? How does the lake appear, to you there? And what is the comfort level there you have with what you're seeing? Because there's some definitely stunning views out there, especially when you get those sunsets.
Signage is kind of an issue too. I know a lot of neighborhoods won't allow you to put signs on the property, that's for sale on the lake. And so you could be, if you're looking for lakefront property and you're out on the water looking for it, you may never see a property with a sign. So you really have to have another resource. You got to have a realtor who knows the area and can point you in the direction of lots and houses that are actually for sale.
Right, because realtors have that data that's been inputted in the MLS, and so it's it is exclusive in that way, because not everybody wants their neighbors knowing they're wanting to sell their house.
That's right, especially when you get more into high-end homes. A lot of them don't even want they don't even want anyone to know that they're selling until it's a done deal.
Right.
All right. Well, very good, guys. Thanks for joining me. It's a great conversation about lakefront properties. We're about to go into fourth segment. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. And if you've got a question, give our experts a call, 281-882-8088. We'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every Sunday between 11 and noon. We'll be right back. Don't forget, we're trying to get to 13,000 likes over on Facebook. So like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Houston Real Estate Radio.
People often find themselves in need of storage and moving, but don't want the hassle and stress. Sound familiar? Well, at Zippy Shell, we make storage and moving easy. Zippy Shell will deliver a storage container to your home or business. You load it at your leisure, and we'll take it to one of our safe, convenient storage facilities, or ship it to your final destination. We treat your stuff like it's our stuff, because we understand you're not just giving us your belongings, you're giving us your trust. Zippy Shell. Storage and moving that makes life simple.